Hello, my name is Harriet Launders. I'm a lead anti-infectives pharmacist here at UHS, and I'm also Major Harriet Launders in an Army Reservist unit where I'm also a pharmacist. So I joined the reserves in 2007 because at that time we were in Afghanistan and I really wanted to go, and I was aware they were a bit short on pharmacists. So I joined up, I got my commission, and I deployed with my field hospital in 2009. For 3 months to Camp Bastion. So when I got back from Afghanistan, I stayed with my unit, and I do a lot of different things with them. So I have a leadership role there as lead pharmacist for my unit. I've also been my detachment commander, um, and I've enjoyed helping to develop and nurture other people as part of that role. But I've also enjoyed some of the extra activities which I would never have done otherwise. So I've done gorge walking, some additional mountain bike activities, kayaking, and so they're and some mountain leader course as well. So it's taking those adventurous training opportunities as well as learning how medicine's done in the military. But my real desire to stay at the moment is related to the military infection working group, which I enjoy contributing to as a pharmacist. And they are a fascinating group of clinicians who share their knowledge and experience of the strange and unusual infections that they come across in the military. I remember my enrolment, so I remember promising allegiance, swearing my allegiance. But the biggest memories are those. It was 15 years ago now, and for the reserves, you do alternate weekends as your primary training. So it's really intense. You arrive on a Friday night, you've got all of your kit, and you train for the weekend. So you get up at maybe 6 o'clock on the Saturday morning, and it was amazing. I was training in November, and I remember standing on parade outside the dining hall the first time I wore uniform, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and watching the sunrise was absolutely amazing. And I thought about all the people who were still in bed, and I remember the whole kind of the excitement and also the nervousness of going and being in that environment and meeting new people from all sorts of walks of life. It was really incredible. You go away on a weekend and you meet people who are not in the NHS, who are doing diverse jobs and have different life stories and different experiences to share. And it's always interesting. It was January, it was snowing. And so I think I remember it being really quite tricky to get to work because Southampton isn't built for snow. Um, but I remember it being I came here as a bone marrow transplant pharmacist and palliative care. And I remember it being a really welcoming place. But my goodness, that was 13 years ago. That was, yes, it feels like a lifetime. And I look back, when I was applying for my anti-infectives job, I look back at all of the things I've done with UHS, and it was like, and my manager was amazing. She put me forward for developmental courses every time. So it was like every IFR, it was like, okay, how are we going to develop you now? So it made it really easy for me to fill in my application form for my next job because I could incorporate some of my reservist things as well. So my family is really involved. So my brother and my sister are both in the regular army, and I went to their passing out parades at Sandhurst, and they'd made me aware of the shortage of pharmacists. So I joined so that we would have a mutual experience of all going to Sandhurst, mutual experience of all going travelling RAF, and all those exciting delays. And also the experience of going to Afghanistan. So, and I really wanted to pay something back because I was the last of the free degrees. So I didn't have such a big student loan to pay back. So I kind of felt that I had to pay that back as well. And also practicing pharmacy in that sort of austere environment is very different. And it helped me to change my perspective on patient care and patient focus. So it was the threefold: increasing my fitness in my mid-30s, doing an experience that I could share with my siblings forever, and also serving and having a completely different life experience. That it's the most relaxing leave I've had from work was my Army basic training, because all you have to do is turn up with what they tell you, and you do what they tell you, and it's great. It was complete relaxation and completely different from my civilian job. So that my UHS role, and before that my civilian job, was full on. So much is expected of us in the NHS now, and by being in the reserves, I've learned that I enjoy an element of structure. I enjoy getting out and doing stuff outside. I enjoy being part of a team, and that I can do stuff I never expected I could. So my civilian role now, I was really individually patient focused as a bone marrow transplant pharmacist, and now I'm a lead anti-infectives pharmacist. So it's more of a leadership role, and actually they reflect each other now. So my reservist role is leading the pharmacy. I need to be aware of quality assurance, and there are elements of that I can bring into my civilian role. But also in the military role, we're soldiers first. So I also get to go and fire an SA-80 at a target, and it's essential I pass that test every year. It's essential that I maintain my fitness. And so it's difficult because the military asks a lot of you, from fitness, from resilience, from the time commitment. But my civilian role asks a lot of us mentally. And I think that the fitness that I get from my army work helps me with my stamina for my civilian role. But yes, at the moment, I'm really lucky. They complement each other really well. And I know that's not true for everyone, but at the moment, I'm really fortunate. I think UHS is really changing and recognising military. So the Remembrance Day commemoration last year was really special and really recognised the reserves. And on Forces Day, we're going to have a flag raising, and I feel again that we'll be recognised. And that's important. That makes us feel valued. And at the moment, 5 days leave a year to do my annual camp, with extra in due course, helps as well. So I think that I do feel at the moment UHS is supportive of my time in the reserves. I feel that the skills that I bring from the reserves back to the UHS are recognised and appreciated. And I think my sickness record is a bit less, because if I've been on an army weekend, I absolutely have to turn up to work on Monday, even if I'm a bit tired. So I think my sickness record is probably better because I'm in the reserves. But what matters to me about UHS, I think that I do feel that having that on my application form for my job gave me something different to talk about in the interview, and was appreciated. Something I wish civilians were aware of for reservist roles, that we do it on top of our day job. So I work full time. I've got a 6-year-old son, and I give up weekends and 2 weeks a year to be a reservist. And I'm expected to be as good a soldier, as good as an officer, as a regular. So I think I do get paid for the time I spent doing my reserves role. And it is a massive privilege. So this weekend I'm going to go and represent my unit, supporting one of our officer cadets as they pass out from Sandhurst, and that's a huge privilege. And also get dressed up in uniform, which is amazing. But I think just the appreciation that it's on top of everything else, and that sometimes I feel like the public, they I think they do appreciate, but maybe they're still looking at Preston Front and TV shows like that rather than realizing that we're a professional army and we are soldiers first. So UHS are really starting to recognise reservists thanks to the creation of the Armed Forces Network, and I really appreciate that. So I think moving forward, I think the support will be much greater. Have they supported my army career? Yes, they have. So in my military role, I was officer commanding of my detachment. I was training officer for my detachment, and to do those roles, I needed to leave on a Tuesday on time, and that was facilitated. So it was recognising that no, on a Tuesday I have to go, and that was very much supported. And also sometimes to go away for the weekend, I actually had to leave on time, and that was supported as well. So, and sometimes early. So it was, I feel like those little things that can make life a little bit more tricky when it doesn't need to be were smoothed over. My previous job was as a deputy director of pharmacy. It was very much a management role. I went to Afghanistan and came back. I was in my mid-30s and realised that I didn't want to be leadership yet. I still had another 30 years in the NHS, and that I wanted to be clinical. So that was a radical change. And I moved to UHS to be a clinical pharmacist. So I took a step down in pay to do that. And then my manager, every year, she recognised that change, that I'd made that commitment to clinical, and she was enthusiastic about ensuring that I then progressed in that clinical experience, as well as sustaining my management training as well. So I did the independent prescribing course. I've done an MSc in infection management, which was co-funded by UHS and the Army, because both of those areas have benefited from the outcome. And I've done a coaching course as well. So I'm really fortunate that my personal and professional development has been nurtured by UHS.